Teenager identified by the prosecution as a major drug dealer in Green Bay schools faces new charges today. 16-year-old Malia Sotelo remains in adult court on a $150,000 cash bond. She was just 15 when she was charged with first-degree reckless homicide and delivering drugs. Investigators say she sold drugs to an 18-year-old De Pere man last year who died of an overdose. In the First Alert update, Brittany Schmidt tells us now about the new charges Sotelo faces today. Brittany.
Bill Sotelo appeared in Brown County Court today for an additional 4 charges related to possession and intent to deliver fentanyl and marijuana. In the 23-page criminal complaint filed today, prosecutors go into detail about Sotelo's alleged drug dealing and her conversations with potential buyers through Facebook Messenger and Instagram. After the arrest, investigators seized Sotelo's phone. On it, they found evidence of criminal activity and dozens of conversations involving Sotelo selling drugs like fentanyl and marijuana for several months. In one instance, investigators say they have evidence she sold fentanyl on school grounds. Another conversation shows Sotelo talking to a buyer about another person's overdose.
The court should consider here is that this is an extensive drug conspiracy as well, which includes on December 1st, Ms. Sotelo was informed that a customer's girlfriend died from an overdose, and 5 days later she did this order up, which is also very concerning that she knew the dangers that fentanyl was having and actually did have on one of her customers' significant other, and she still went and tried to settle more of it. That's very concerning.
These charges come with another $100,000 cash bond for Sotelo. She'll be back in court next week. Bill.